Stop overcomplicating things. A man by the name of Woody Guthrie once said, "Any fool can make something complicated, but it takes a genius to make something simple." And I believe that's very true. When it comes to approaching any endeavor, if you're sat on the sidelines analyzing and analyzing and analyzing, you'll find reasons to not do it. You will. You see, I would do it, but this could go wrong, that could go wrong. And then you end up not doing it. I mean, if engineers had that approach, no bridge would ever be built, no skyscraper would ever be erected. But someone came along one day and thought, you know what? Why don't we build a building around 1 kilometer high? Stupid, but why don't we do it? And there it is. I think it's about 820 meters, Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Someone thought, why not? Now, don't get into the reasons as to whether or not it's a smart idea. Someone made it possible. And now it's currently the tallest building in the world. But at one point, the Empire State Building was the tallest building in the world. I mean, to this day, I can't wrap my head around how on earth we can keep buildings that tall up in the air without any problems. It's incredible. It's an incredible feat of architecture and engineering. And there are so many incredible structures around the world that you look at and you're like, that don't make sense. That don't make sense. The modern day commercial airplane doesn't make sense to me. How on earth are they keeping something that weighs thousands of tons up in the air? I mean, it's incredible. Keeping us nice and comfortable in our seats whilst we watch movies and eat some chicken and rice and tuck into some dessert after. I mean, it's incredible. Now, did we achieve that immediately? No, we didn't. That wasn't a very quick process. It took time. The first airplane, to get to an airplane that could fly safely, it took a while. I mean, who were the brothers? Can't think of their name now. People told them, silly idea. Silly idea, fellas. What are you doing? Who are the brothers, man? I want to know their name. Brothers. The Wright brothers, that's it. The first plane that they flew was a disaster. I mean, I think it was up in the air for a few minutes and then it came back down. Everyone was like, see, if we were meant to fly, we'd have wings. What are you guys trying to do? You're insane. Look, whenever you're embarking on a journey to achieve something remarkable, people will look at you funny. Like you're out of your mind. And you know what? You got to be out of your mind to an extent. As McGregor says, you can't be all the way there. What he meant by that is, I mean, to a lot of people, you're going to appear crazy and delusional. What are you doing trying to achieve something like this? Someone has to do it. That's how I see it. If someone's going to do it, I want it to be me. I want it to be me. Because you best believe if you don't go out there and achieve it, someone else will. There are so many entrepreneurs who had the idea for Uber, Airbnb, and so on and so on. All these big companies of today. It wasn't a one-hit wonder. There were several people with an idea similar to that before we have the Airbnbs and the Ubers of the world. But some people just didn't go all the way out and achieve it. They started to find reasons to complicate the situation. Well, you see, this would go wrong and that would go wrong. And then they just take themselves out of the process. Someone else is like, yeah, that will go wrong. And maybe that as well. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll figure it out. There's a saying, an entrepreneur is someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down. Meaning you don't need to have all the answers before you start. And some of you guys, you've adopted your parents' fears when it comes to going out there and chasing your dreams and building something. Maybe your parents went to university and got a good degree and it was safe and reliable and they're doing well for themselves. And look, in that time, it was a sensible idea to go to university back in the 80s and 90s and 70s, right? It was a good idea. There weren't any smartphones and, technology and internet like we have today. There wasn't. So it was a sensible idea to get a qualification and to go all the way and get a good job in the city and work your way up. I mean, that was one of the only ways back then to do well. But now it's changed. Yet you're still holding on to your parents' fears. Your parents tell you, son, get a good job in the city. What are you doing? Trying to pursue a dream like that? It doesn't make sense. But I want you to remember, we have so many examples of people achieving the things that you want to achieve, whether you want to be a content creator, whether you, want to create a crypto company or AI company or whatever. You want to get into renewables. I mean, look, there's so many avenues that you can go down today. And there are so many people that have achieved great success by taking advantage of the technology that we have today and the internet. So it is possible. Now, you might sit there and think, well, but what if that's your own fear? Let's separate facts from the fear for a second. Has it been done? Yes. Are there people on YouTube currently doing really well? Yes. So it's possible. Are there people that started a year ago, 6 months ago, that are doing really well? Yes. So you can't use the excuse of, well, back then there's still people doing it today. Now, if you start listing out reasons, but it's too saturated, but I don't have a camera, well, then you're just looking for reasons to not do it. That's what it is. You are trying to find reasons to not move ahead. And that's your own fear that you need to work on. You can't say, well, the marketplace. No, the marketplace is still creating incredible success stories. How is it creating incredible success stories? Because the people that went out to the marketplace are creating such incredible value that the marketplace rewards them. And look, you gotta look at the process differently. I like finding out reasons on how to do something or different ways to do something. I like that. I like the trial and error. Don't see it as a failure when you don't get a win the first time. Take a step back and be like, right, how can I do this differently the second time round? There's a different level of glory when you fail repeatedly and then you got it. It's incredible. And it's inspiring because it's very rare that somebody gets it right the first time. So you're more relatable if it took you a little bit of time to figure something out. People appreciate the sacrifices and the persistence that it took to get there. And in my opinion, it tests how badly you really want it. If you fail 2 or 3 times and you quit, well, then the reality is you didn't really want it bad enough. You just didn't. Now, all the words in the world, I mean, you can talk until the cows come home. But people will judge you based on what they see you do, not what you say you're doing. If you're still in the game, going at it. And I don't want you just to keep doing something that isn't working. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is, take that feedback on board, process it. Right, okay, so the first time I did this, I didn't get the result that I wanted. Still got a result, but it wasn't the result that I wanted. How can I do things differently the second time, the third time? What if we change this? What if we tweak this? What will happen then? Try. And like I said, it should excite you. Maybe the second time. Thomas Edison said, I don't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways it didn't work. Different perspective. What if the Wright brothers quit because the first flight wasn't successful? What if Thomas Edison said, you know what, after the first attempt, screw this. This ain't going to be possible. These are people that we still talk about to this very day because of their persistence. And they weren't driven by financial reasons alone. And maybe that's your problem. You want to get to the money so quick, you can't be asked for the process. Oh, it's too difficult. I just want the money. Well, then you're not going to get the money. You just won't. Jim Rohn used to say, income is directly correlated to your personal development. It may make a lucky jump, but sure enough, if you don't go and meet it where it is, it will come back and meet you where you are. Meaning you have to keep improving the value that you're providing. You have to keep refining the product that you've created. That's how you can amass wealth in the long run and keep it. Just watch what successful people do and do the same. I mean, there's a lot of similarities that they share. They may be in different industries, but they have a very similar state of mind. Meanwhile, that 19-year-old dropshipper that you're obsessed with, I mean, he could have got a lucky run. But if he's telling you it's easy and you can do it in 1 month, he's lying to you. Things take time. And you shouldn't want it to happen in 1 month, because the reality is, even if you do get a lucky run, you're probably not going to be prepared enough to deal with the newfound success. I'm glad I didn't get super wealthy at 21. I'm actually glad. Because I probably would have blown all the money and I just wouldn't know what to do with it. I would have been reckless. But when things take a bit of time, it matures you differently. You're currently marinating. Look at the process differently. If you take a chicken out the oven too quick, it's still going to be raw. Now, do you want to eat raw chicken, or do you want to wait a little bit until the chicken cooks properly? You're cooking right now. Okay? But keep things simple. Whatever it is that you're trying to learn, whether it's a new skill set, piano, learning how to trade, whatever, building an e-commerce, clothing business, approach it one step at a time. Stop looking at the grand picture and trying to figure everything out from day one. No. What do you need to do first? Get that done. And then second, get that done. One step at a time. And then, after a while, you'll be able to look back and connect the dots. And certain things don't need to be overcomplicated, such as a logo. That's a form of procrastination. I speak to a lot of guys that tell me that they're working on a business, but they've been working on the logo for like 4 months, and they haven't even started a website, and they haven't even got a single product to sell yet. They're just worrying about the wrong things at the wrong time. Logos can be refined later on. If you're starting a business, your objective should be to get cash in ASAP. So stop overcomplicating it. Get to the things that make you money first. You're just worrying about logos and websites and making everything look fancy before you even have a product. There are so many companies that are registered out there, so many websites that have been created, fancy websites that don't even have a checkout option. People can't buy anything on them. And they've been like that for a year, 2 years. Maybe some of you that are watching this video have a nice fancy website and you told yourself that you're working on a business. See, some things give you a false sense of progress. Sometimes having a fancy logo and a fancy website makes you feel like you're a CEO now and you're on the rise. And look, I don't want you to feel pessimistically and negative. No, it's a good thing that it makes you feel good. I'm not disputing that. It's nice when you get a good logo and a nice website. But sometimes that can give you a false sense of achievement, like you've made it now. Now that I've got the website, the money should be rolling in. No. The objective should be, how can I get a great product designed? How can I make sure my delivery service is excellent? Let me get those relationships going. Let me ask about the pricing, the fees. Get to the money quick. I'm not saying rush it, but focus on getting cash flow first. Then with the cash flow, you can improve the website, improve the logo, things like that. I hope that makes sense. Keep it simple. You're looking at trading the Forex market for the first time and you're like, wow, this is incredible, man. There's so much going on here. Break it down. Right, let me understand first of all what a currency pair even is. What is a market? What's the difference between stocks and Forex? What's a commodity? What time does the market open and close? Look at the very basics first before you stress about the strategy and, oh my God, what if I have an account, a large account, and I don't know what to do with it? You're stepping too far ahead. Don't skip the important part, the basics, the foundations. A lot of you guys, you're trying to build a building without any proper foundations. It's going to collapse. It's going to come crumbling down. Focus on what really matters first. Learn as much as you can. Be a student of the game. Man, I love buying a new notepad and just filling it in with information that I've learned, new information. It's exciting. It means I'm better today than I was yesterday because I'm acquiring all this info. I'm note-taking. Note-takers are money makers. And I used to buy really fancy notepads back in the day. Like 30, 40 pound leather notepads that I never wrote in. And then I realized, man, I was just putting on the facade that I'm now the CEO, he's got his own company, I've got a nice website, logo, notepads, everything's all, funky and nice. But I wasn't actually working on what really mattered. So now I just buy any piece of shit notepad and write in it as much as possible. It's what's in the notepad that's valuable. Now, of course, I have a nice little leather notepad that I write ideas in. But whenever I'm looking to learn something, I just get any notepad and my objective is to fill it in from page 1 to the last page with as much information as possible. And then, look, I don't want you to get stuck in this paralysis by analysis situation where you're rewatching something 100 times because you're paranoid that you haven't learned it properly. Test it. For example, you're a trader. You've been learning a strategy for a while and you don't know if it's working for you or not. Back test it. Instead of watching the video 100 times because you're paranoid that you haven't absorbed all the information, go and back test the market, see what your results are. And then from that, you have an idea of where your level of understanding is. Maybe you need to go back and rewatch because now you're able to identify where you're messing up. You need that feedback, guys. That's how cars are improved over the years, especially when it comes to safety. These crash tests are designed so that we're able to identify flaws. Now imagine they said, we don't need to crash a perfectly fine car. Well then, the only feedback they're going to get is when people get mangled up in real accidents. They need to do all of this stuff beforehand so that they can make any adjustments that are necessary. That's how you got to look at your business and your skill set you're learning. You need to stumble because people make mistakes in different areas. Maybe you're great at one aspect of running a business, but you suck at another aspect. Maybe you know a lot about Forex, but your risk management is poor. And in fact, speaking on day trading, there's a great book called Trading in the Zone, in which Mark Douglas, the author of the book, says that a lot of people assume that the more they learn about the market, the better they will be as traders. And that is far from the truth. Sometimes too much information is actually hurting you because you've got so much flying around in there and a lot of information that you actually don't need. And that's confusing you. That's making you make poor decisions. So keep it simple. What's step 1? Write down on a piece of paper, step 1. Maybe it's research, but don't stay in the research stage for too long. Okay, cool. You've done a bit of research. Great. Product. What product do I want to design? Number 2, write it down. Product. This, that. 3, suppliers. Where can I get it manufactured? And then I say just tackle one thing at a time. If you spend too long on the website and the logo, when it comes time to actually design a product, you're overwhelmed now. You're like, oh my God, I've got to do so much. One step at a time. Stop overcomplicating things. I hope this has resonated with a lot of you because I used to be that guy. I used to worry about the wrong shit and I'd overcomplicate matters. I'd sit there looking at this enormous mountain that I have to scale. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just, I can't really do this. It's just crazy, this and this, without even taking the first step. It's silly. There's a video of a child holding onto his father's legs at the beach, worried of drowning, like crying. And it's funny because the father just didn't care. And he was standing in the water. And then when the child eventually released his arms and stopped holding his father's legs, he stood up and the water was only up to his waist. So he wasn't even drowning or anything. He was worried about drowning, but just look around. You'll be okay. Let 2024 be the year where you just go out there and take massive action. Acquire as much information as possible, as much feedback as possible, trial and error. This has worked, great, this hasn't worked. And just make sure that you're constantly in motion. There's a saying, action will take you out of doubt and doubt will take you out of action. Keep moving. If you stand still, you'll start overcomplicating matters. You'll allow those voices in your head to bounce around and consume you. Learn as you go along. Come on, I'm not telling you to design a commercial plane now. You're starting a clothing business or you're starting a YouTube channel. Stop overcomplicating shit. It's easier for a lot of you than it was for those that first started because they've paved the way. They've shown you it's possible. If it can be done once, it can be done again. I've said this before, this is the greatest time in human history to be an entrepreneur. It really is. Or to make money on the side. If you don't want to be the CEO of a large company or, work for yourself full time, even if it's just making a little bit of money on the side, it's the greatest time ever to do it. It really is. So take advantage of it. Don't let it go to waste. All right. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you can give it a like, comment. Let me know what you think down below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. See you in the next one.